rocking with Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 48 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Katie, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Grace.
Hi everyone.
And AJ.
Hey everybody.
And today we'll be talking about the second installment in the Snowstorm series, I guess. Season 3, episode 2, titled Thin Ice. There is a whole lot to talk about per usual. We're in the meat of the series of this snowstorm, so let's just get to talking.
Probably a good idea.
There's
so much.
Yeah.
And if you've stuck around here for a while, if you've been listening to us for a while, expect tangent. And I'm totally not talking about just saying.
Yeah, like it's just very detail oriented, but we love that here. I absolutely love how the episode started out too. I think it was a really good opener.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. It was with the kid with asthma, Abe, who we kind of sort of met in the first episode with like falling in to the lake or whatever it is and stuff. So we kind of like knew that this was the kid, but we meet him and stuff and like find out from the phone call with his mom that he has like asthma and he shouldn't go outside and play, which for a kid that's so hard when you're seeing everyone else play.
Oh my gosh.
And stuff. But his mom's like, you can eat as much junk food as you want today and play as many video games as you want and stuff, because she can't get home from work because of the storm. And so he does, and he does for a while until the power goes off, and then that all goes out the
there's
window.
No video games.
And so he's like, oh well, I'll go outside without my inhaler. Oops.
I was just like, oh man, at least take your inhaler, kiddo.
I know, like seriously. And like all the older kids had been like playing outside all day or been outside all day and stuff, and they just like leave this kid, like you're like, oh, okay, bye, see you later. Like this kid is just going out there alone. Okay.
Right.
Like,
and they're like, yeah, well, we've been out here all day. And he's like, oh man.
I know.
But I like seeing the other point of view, or the other like kind of a different build up to what we know happens.
Exactly. Like,
yeah,
I love I love the background of it and like finding like this part of the story out and seeing it. And then we like see him like playing like on the lake, but you can't really tell that it's a lake. It almost looks like it's an open field that's just covered with snow. You can't tell that the lake's there.
So I think like that's sort of deceptive, because like you at this point in time you know what happens to him, and you're like, oh, lake,
right?
Well,
but like when you think about it,
like if we never knew that anybody fell into a lake, we wouldn't have suspected it, but because we know there's a lake in this episode, we know that there's a lake there. But like just looking at it, you're just like, but of course he, like falls and he starts coughing and then he falls into the lake. And then the one thing that we will call bullshit on is the lake. Basically, once he falls in, it's like already ice is above. Like how that doesn't happen.
The only way they possibly could have pulled that off was if he drifted away from the opening.
Yeah,
but still they didn't really show any opening either.
Yeah.
So like complete and utter bullshit where that comes in. But I'm just gonna say I liked this rescue and everything, except for the fact that it was complete and utter bullshit in itself.
Yeah, like
some of the logistics definitely were not realistic.
I mean, that's just, I feel like that's just how it is. Like nothing's gonna be 100% realistic, but this is
we can talk more when they get to it. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah,
but this is one things I will go into a tangent on.
Yeah, so let's save that for a little bit later.
Yes.
Just know that it's a little bullshit. But my favorite part about this was when the turtle like walked up to where the ice was, and then you just see like him standing over it, and then like that was such a good opener because of that. Like this scene,
it like
so
connects to the previous episode and like what the people were doing, and
it
was a good opener. It was for sure a good opener.
It was a good opener. Yeah.
And then of course we get Owen bringing that guy home that he had like ran across, or more like Buttercup ran across in the last episode. Because Buttercup like just runs right towards him and Owen finds him and stuff. And of course Sadie stops by and stuff. And this is when she really learns about Owen. Like this whole mystery of him is just starting to die off. So the guy is stabbed. So Owen has to cauterize the wound. And then like Owen asks, like throughout this whole scene, after like they kind of settle things and Owen knows he needs to get help, Owen asks Sadie if she has a landline. She's like, no, but I have the next best thing, which we don't of course get until later. It's like everything once we find out something, it's like no, later. But we'll talk about that I guess in a little bit. Later. It's always so confusing, but like, you know, that's just how it is. They don't give us everything all at once. It's not how it works. But then,
there's no need for an episode if that is the case.
I mean, we get it. At least we get it. Almost get it all in one episode, but like, it's just we want to talk about everything at once, but that's just not how it works. Anyways.
Right.
True.
Back at the church with Paul and Lindsay still missing inside because the building collapsing twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Twice. Judd is
just like that was just me going twice. Of course it collapsed twice.
Oh yeah. Like if there's gonna be a first, I feel like there's gonna be a second.
Oh yes.
Especially with everything that they put on that building, like all the water and stuff. And
ice weighs a lot.
Yeah, no, like tons and
yes.
tons. But at the church, Judd is like telling his captain how if they tried to remove all the bigger pieces, because he had said like, oh, we could just try to remove the bigger pieces, and he's like, that would take days.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, true. And my main thought when first seeing this scene, because I believe the 122 captain's standing there, Captain Andrews, and then the 129 captain is standing there, and I'm just thinking, okay, the 122 captain, we like him. The 129 captain, not so much. I mean, I don't feel the same as I did at the end of season 2, but I don't love him and I don't hate him, but I also don't have a real like liking towards him. If that makes sense.
It's mixed feelings.
He's just
mixed feelings.
He's not a likable person, but
Exactly.
he's not quite the same asshole that he was in season 2.
Agreed.
So we will take small victories, but
exactly. And then like the 122 captain had said that they don't know where Paul or Lindsay are in the building, and Judd kind of just says that they could like go in and tread lightly and figure out where they are in like the building and stuff before they shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
And
where they red tag.
Right, exactly. And then like Captain Andrews is like, oh yeah, but if I call it, you gotta get out and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah. And then like the 129 gets some other call and Mateo's not leaving. You can tell like when the captain's like, oh, we gotta go like to another call. Mateo's just standing there, and then the captain's just like, Chavez, come on. Your team's on a move, I believe was the words he used. And like, he obviously isn't gonna move. And Mateo's just like, the 129 may be my house, but Paul's my family. I have to help rescue him, sir. And Tatum's just like, you're a good kid, Chavez. Not a bright kid, but a good one. This is what I'm like.
And I just went, oi, who you not calling bright?
I was like,
yeah, that was a tough I get what he was pointing at, but he used the wrong words there for sure.
That was misspoken words. You did not use the right ones. Like, this is when I'm just like, shut the heck up. Like, don't
honestly, this
don't
is the one point during the season so far we leave room for possibilities that we've had like blatant reason to dislike the captain at any point. He's just kind of been like, just kind of a character, not good, not bad so far, but like this is one point where you're like, oh, watch your mouth.
You can definitely tell he's like a seasoned, like roughneck, seasoned firefighter. Like he's not just a newbie.
Oh yes.
And so his politically correctness terminology is not there.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like he's kind of rough around the edges, I would say, and like I feel like he just doesn't know how to talk to some people besides like the older people that are like kind of under him, I guess is a good way to put it. But Yeah. And then like after that, like Tatum asks Andrews if Mateo can join. And he's just like, oh yeah, sure. And then Tatum says something like, the 126 boys really are something, aren't they? And Andrews is just like, it's not just the boys, which I feel like was totally like
Oh, that's totally towards Marshawn.
yeah, exactly. Like she did take a snow day, guys.
Yeah.
Who does that? But like, I didn't even phase Marshawn in this episode. I hate to say it. Like, I love the girl, but like, I didn't really think about her towards the end of the episode, where I was just like, sitting there watching it the first time, being like, they really haven't showed Marshawn, have they?
Honestly, that was my same thing. Like, briefly, I thought of her, just go, they're not showing anything about her. But they were so good at using their time in this episode
Agreed.
that, like, it wasn't that you worried, but at the same time, like, you were a little preoccupied.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt. So then we go back to the boy trapped under the ice, and like Grace gets dispatched, like she's in charge of that call, and she's like saying how they couldn't get a fire truck there, but there's an ambulance. And I'm like, of course. So like
Yeah.
this is a Tommy TK Nancy call, and it's just funny because like Nancy, when they first get there and TK's parking the ambulance, she's just like, we're sliding, and TK's just like so nonchalant, like,
Yeah.
okay, we're fine, chill, like I know what I'm doing. This isn't my first snowstorm.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And the guy is just like, oh, when are the firefighters gonna get here? And Nancy's just like, they're all spoken for.
Yeah, and the
he's just
faces
They're
are
stuck
like,
with us.
like, what did you think was gonna happen is my thought. Like, you know, it's a snowstorm. We're in Texas. We're not somewhere where they get snow, so it's not this normal thing. Or at least this much snow, I should say. So like, what you I'm sorry, but what do you think was gonna how this was gonna go?
Right.
I mean,
That's
part of me, like, yes, but also I feel like civilians are just kind of like, okay, you call for help, you're gonna get help. That's like the entire
Right.
point of first responders. And so I feel like with that, not a lot of people often think of, oh, they're all busy.
right. That is true, but like, I'm just like,
No, I agree with you. But at the same time, it's like,
I get it both ways, but it's just like, we are in a snowstorm here, people.
And I love how Tiki's response to that. I was like, oh, I was a firefighter. He's like, and I'm from New York. So this is my first snowstorm. So it's like, I love how he's like, oh, I was a firefighter.
Yeah, I don't even think he said he was a firefighter. He kind of just said like, I was a firefighter in New York, like, so this is not my first snowstorm.
Yeah.
And it's like,
But I'm like,
yes, boy.
yay! I love TK taking charge.
Oh yeah, 100%. So back to Owen and this whole Sadie situation. So she comes back with her relic, which I didn't even realize that was called a relic. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've seen those before and stuff, but I didn't know that was actually like what it's called. Like, I'm pretty sure I called it something else at one point. I don't know. Like,
It's
I
a
know
ham radio.
I know what it, yeah, that's like probably what I knew what it was, because I've seen like those before, like in movies and TV shows and stuff like that. But yeah, it was pretty interesting to see and like stuff. So like Owen uses like the call sign of it to get in touch with like 911 dispatch, and he mentions like this is when he mentions like, oh, this is Captain Strand and like stuff. And then like he's like saying how like, oh, it's not like he like kind of settled things, like it's not technically like an emergency. I mean, he does need medical attention, so
Right.
but
Like, he's sort of stable, but needs attention, please.
And they're like, well, we'll get you on the list, basically.
yeah, this is like, we'll get to you. And then like this is when Sadie's just like, oh, he's a firefighter. And Owen's just like, sorry, it's not as exciting as Axburger.
And honestly, like,
I'm just dying here.
I feel like with firefighters, they're like Marines in a way, like, because they say Marines are like once a Marine, always a Marine. I feel like firefighters are kind of that, like once a firefighter, always a firefighter.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So for him to say is like, are you really?
Well, I think the reason why he did that is because I think in his mind at this point, he doesn't think he's going to be one again. So he's like, oh, I was that.
Yeah.
And I don't think like at this point, he's thinking about trying to get the 126 back or trying to go back into that. Like, I think this is how he's thinking he's going to spend the rest of his life. It just, That's kind of sad.
Yeah, it is.
And we know that's not true too, because like he's not the
Yes.
type. Like
Yeah.
after a while, he's gonna go back to like it, and he's gonna fight it. But yeah, that'll be interesting. But
He's
then
just sort of not the type to be able to like retire,
that's what I mean. Like I feel like
especially like right now.
I feel like Owen is one of those people that like would probably die on the job because he doesn't ever retire, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he would be doing something. Like that's just how I think of him. So it's almost like we have like the team not together, kind of, because we have like Jed
Kind
and
of.
Mateo working together. So we have
Yeah.
something at least. And I don't know, I just really love it. And like so they're trying to find Paul and like they go in yelling for him and it's like obviously he's not answering because
Right.
like they're not even probably close to where he is. And Mateo kind of mentions like they don't even know where to look. And this is when Judd calls for a helping hand. And we don't get this helping hand till later, but we kind of already know like who it is. Like
Yeah.
it's just like we know who he's gonna call. Like who else could he call during this? We know.
Who are you gonna call? Grace Ryder.
See, this is not what I thought you were gonna say. So I was just like, oh yes, that's what we do. Oh, I love that.
Oh, we totally need to put that on a shirt.
Oh no,
We're
we
gonna
do.
call Grace.
That we-
Watch for it in our store. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So we do get a little bit of Paul. So next we get Paul moving some stuff off of him and he radios, but his radio like isn't going through. It's like not working. And then he like looks around and then like you can kind of see like or hear a faint like I don't know like whimper or something. And so he sees Lindsay. So he finds her and like she's just like kind of like can't believe that he found her or if anybody noticed she was missing. And I'm like, that's so sad. Like I totally get that. I feel like I felt
Yeah.
like that, especially at that age.
Right.
And stuff. But like
Yeah.
so sad. And like Paul mentions that like he just needs his team to come and rescue them, but his radio is broken and Lindsay's just like, I'll fix it. And she starts playing around with it. And I'm like, okay, I really like this. I really like all their scenes. So it's
Yeah,
just
me too.
interesting to see like throughout this episode, like where this goes, I guess, is like a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
And then we're back with our good old paramedic crew. This is when like TK is like going out to the lake to like rescue the boy and stuff. And we had like gotten bits and pieces of the scene before, but it's still so good. Like Tommy's just like, TK, are you sure about this? He's like, don't worry, Cap. I did a bunch of these back in the day in Central Park. This is no different. And Nancy's just like using a bed sheet as a life ring and a laryngoscope as an ice pick. It's different. Tika's just like valid point. Like yeah. Totally. And of course it takes like slight bit longer because of like the tools are working with and stuff. But
Right.
like he gets a kid. And then of course he falls in. And honestly, him falling in, it happened like quicker than I was expecting. Not like him falling in. Like I knew that would happen pretty quickly when we got this. But I was honestly surprised of how long he was in. It wasn't that long, which I guess makes sense since it wasn't like he was like free falling in. Like he was
Yeah.
attached to the bed sheet. But like I honestly thought that like he would be under for half of the episode and that's what they would do to us.
Right. Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, but I really liked how it happened, like the kid coming out of the water and then TK, like, it was like he was using every last ounce of strength he had to like get that kid out of the water. And I loved how he, like, when he saw Nancy and Tommy trying to rush forward, he's like, no, don't come any closer. Don't, because they get on the ice and they'll break any more of the ice there and they'll end up in the water too.
Well, not even
Which will help absolutely nobody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because like think about it, if they get any closer, the ice is gonna collapse and they're just gonna get pushed farther down too.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Yeah. So this is a really good scene. I really like that rescue. Like the kid, being under for, I'm debatable on how long the kid was actually under, but
yeah, honestly, like I mean, worse things have been pulled off, so I can't really say much.
The thing with that is that the rescue itself really good. In fact, the kid was alive. Glaring mistake, I'm just gonna say, because the kid was in the middle of an asthma attack when he went underwater, and it was underwater for at least 10, probably closer to 15 or 20 minutes. You're brain dead or dead by that point.
Right. Yeah,
Period.
no. 100%. Like there have been other shows that have done things similar to this, but it's lasted a lot longer. Like we don't know how long he was under the water.
We're just hazarding a guess, and we know for certain it's been, let's see, it was at least 5 minutes since the couple found him under the ice when they called. Probably
Because a lady
another
had to drive
10
up the street to get to a house with a landline.
probably another 10 or 15 minutes before the ambulance came. So right there we're looking at like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, which already I'm gonna
Well, the thing,
that
well, yeah, but see, the thing with that is though, the kid, your body doesn't deteriorate when it's cold. So
but
the cold,
more than 4 minutes without oxygen is permanent brain damage.
so they were using the ice water as they're trying to portray it as the continuing or life. I don't know what
Like,
I'm
are they
saying.
trying to do Captain America over again?
No.
Where he just froze underneath the ice for 70 years and came out perfectly fine? Like, is that what they were trying to do? I don't know. I just have so many issues.
Yeah.
it.
So in this, I think we just have to suspend belief a little bit, like, because suspend reality and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
It's
it's
go ahead.
also a TV show, like
Right.
like I get it, but like also I've seen worse things done in Grey's
Yeah.
Anatomy, so I don't think we should be looking this hard. Because let me just say they did something similar to this,
Yeah.
and it was after hours. And you know what?
Yeah.
This happened day one.
Yeah. So this has been less than an hour, so we'll just go with it.
Yeah, like
but
I shall
yes.
shut my mouth, but I'm still not happy.
yeah. So
No.
so Nancy and Tommy are able to pull TK and the boy to shore, and they get him up, and like he has no respirations, he's no pulse. And then the woman that had initially called 911 asked if the kid was dead, and Tommy's like, "You're not dead until you're warm and dead," which I did mention last week, and
yeah, which I
it's
love.
very common.
I love
was like,
that you said that, and then Tommy said it in this episode. We're just like,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, when she said that, I'm like, wow, they didn't even like change the wording. They just said it. I was like, cool.
Yeah, I loved that and stuff.
And then as they're like climbing, getting ready to like take the kid to the ambulance, they realize the ambulance has slid down an embankment and is like currently not working. So she's like, I hope your van has heat. So they have to take the kid into the van that they've been collecting these turtles in.
Right, which we didn't even like, we kind of knew because we saw the turtles in the previous episode, but we don't know like exactly
Right.
the like fully. Yeah, and I feel like you could have missed the turtles if you weren't really paying attention, which I saw it the first time. I was like, is that turtles in their car?
No, it's like, what are they doing?
Same.
And it's so funny though, because like a couple months ago I was watching Lone Star Law, which is the fish and wildlife police officers in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that they had an unseasonably cold snap at some point. This was an episode from years ago, and they were talking about different places that were going and collecting the reptiles and bringing them into warming shelters and then returning them to the wild when it got warm enough for them to be out safely. So I was like, oh, okay, that's what they're referencing. That's like, it took me a little bit to connect the dots, but I was like, okay, now I know what's going on here.
Right. Yeah. But back to Paul. So we know Jed calls Grace, like that the writing was on the wall. And she kind of pulls up like the blueprints and stuff of the building and kind of sees like where they're at. She's like, you're by the basketball court, right? And Jed's just like, yeah, I see a hoop. And Mateo's like, damn, your lady's good. And Jed's like, why do you think I called her? Mood.
I love it.
I adore it.
And like I love seeing like Jed and Grace work together. And then finally Paul's radio comes through because it's fixed, and Paul says how he's in the locker room, and like they're all so excited, like Jed's excited and stuff, and he's just like, dude, you hear that? Like, you hear that, babe? And Grace is just like, yeah, I heard. Like, he's just so happy that like this is how this worked out and stuff. And like Paul kind of thanks Lindsay for fixing his radio. And then she's like, this is when she starts like blaming herself of how like they got trapped because of her, and how like when the roof collapsed she froze.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's understandable though. Anybody would do that. Like I can't say if I got trapped in the building that I
Right.
wouldn't be scared and I would freeze because I might. Like anybody would,
Yeah.
especially at that age. Like she's just a teenager. Like that's terrifying. That's terrifying for me now and
Yeah.
stuff. But it's like so understandable. And then of course, like you can't end this great moment. The pipes have to burst and water
Ugh.
is pouring everywhere, which this might be dumb of me to say, but like I kind of feel like you would know in Texas this would happen. So wouldn't you like turn off the water first? I don't know. Maybe that's
I don't,
but like that's
I
how
don't know.
I don't know. That's just how I think because like you know that the pipes like here in New York and just anywhere where it's cold like really cold, they like have something on the pipes so they don't burst from the cold. They don't have that there because they don't really have this issue. But like you would think maybe that's the first thing you think of. But I guess since they're not used to this, maybe they don't. But like I'm like, why didn't we do this?
Right.
But like just like yeah, maybe turn off the water. And Mateo mentions how like wait, if they're hypothermic and now wet, their survival window went from hours to minutes.
And it's
There he
true.
goes. Our probie, he used to be a probie, is now like he's smart cookie. He knows
Ugh.
these things.
Where's that captain when we need him to witness this? Because that
I
is literally
know.
that's smarter than anybody I've literally like that's really smart
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Like don't underestimate. That's all I gotta say.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But back to Owen's cabin. So the guy is knocked out on the couch. Not for long.
Yeah.
And then Sadie
that.
and Owen are talking about coyotes, not like the coyotes that some people might think we're talking about, like the other coyotes. Like,
Coyotes.
yeah, exactly. And this is interesting because the first time I saw this, I was my mind went straight to Night Shift in that episode. If anybody has seen that, which
Yeah.
of course EG and I, like, when we talked
Yep.
about it, that's the first thing we thought of. And I'm like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, okay, like also when she mentioned it, I was like, okay, of course it's coming up. That's Texas. This is Texas. Okay, yeah, connecting all the lines.
Yes. Well, for those who don't know, the coyotes that are being referenced are the smugglers who will smuggle people, things, and just about anything for any amount of money across the Mexican-American border most of the time in Texas.
Right, yeah. And so then we hear Buttercup start barking, and they go to check it out, and the guy has like opened the front door, left it open, and he had basically booked it.
Yeah, it's like he woke up and took off.
Yeah, he was probably like, where the heck am I? And ran and stuff. And it's just like, okay, like I didn't really think much about this at the time, but like definitely something was off, which we learn about at the end of the episode, so won't really say much about it now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But like then we just see Buttercup like standing in the house and stuff, and like Owen looking out and stuff. And I was just like, okay, like at least Buttercup did get out. Like that was my first thought.
Right. Though Bernese mountain dogs do love the snow because they have such a thick fur, but they love the cold.
No, I meant like he didn't get out and get lost or something.
Right. No, I get you.
Like, yeah, like, and then like Owen, of course, like has to go after him in a whiteout, my damn mention. And like Owen's just like, if I'm not back by 6, feed my dog. And it's like that's just typical Owen, don't you think?
Yeah.
Very much typical. Like that's just I feel like that's just him. He always like goes after whatever it is at the time, and it's like maybe you shouldn't be doing this.
I thought you were a firefighter, not.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, is that whole thing about once a firefighter, always a firefighter?
Yeah, I know. I walked into that too. It's like he can't turn it off.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
He did say that, didn't he? Oh boy. Back to the boy though. They're trying to warm him up, and Tiki is also freezing what we had. And then the couple mentions how they're like trying to get the turtles to an aquatic warming center. But the whole time all I can think about is how much TK is shivering and how bad I feel. And like See, the thing is I feel like they should have removed their clothes. That's like the first thing they should have done,
Yes.
just because we already know that like your cold clothes make you feel colder, and he's
Right.
shivering. Like, and I know the main goal is like getting the boy warmed up, but maybe you
Mhm.
should be focusing on
Right. He's wearing layers of clothes that have all been soaked to the bone, and he needs to get those cold clothes off, or he's never gonna warm up.
Right, yeah. And they, after a while, they get the boy warmed up and he starts breathing again. And he wakes up, and like the second ambulance, since theirs needs to be towed, comes and stuff. And then this is when, after like the paramedics take the boy, this is when Tommy and Nancy realize TK's not right there with them, and they're like, "Where did TK go?"
So
But
when they had first panned out of the scene of like seeing the kid getting taken off with the other ambulance, I saw TK walking. Did you guys see him?
Okay,
I did
so when
not.
I paused it when I was rewatching it yesterday, and I did see it. You can sort of make it out. It's not completely
Very
clear,
faint.
but you can definitely argue that that's TK. I mean, who else
Right.
is it going to be at this
Right.
point? But you can definitely tell that like it's him, and he's going towards like where all the snow is, and I'm just like, okay, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is definitely not good.
Right.
And so I really loved like going back from TK to like Paul. Like I really
Mhm.
loved those are like two strong storylines, and I just love
Yeah.
it. But then we go back to like Paul and Lindsay, and Paul basically this is when like they're already hypothermic. So Paul finds a trash can with a trash bag, empties it out, and he's like telling this teenage girl that she needs to strip, and she's just like no. And he's
Yeah.
just like, you're wet, which makes your body temperature drop even faster.
Right.
And is like basically saying, just like think about is like a really stinky wetsuit. And I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my
So
gosh.
true.
He keeps making comments that just make it worse, and I'm like, Paul.
Paul, you're not
Yeah,
helping.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So she wears this trash bag, and Paul gives her his turnout coat, and she's just like, what about you? And Paul's like, I'm from Chicago, we like it frosty.
I'm just like, Paul.
Even me,
But,
like,
like-
I can relate, Paul, but like
Yeah.
people here like bitch about the cold, and I am one of those people. Like, I don't like it frosty. This is just a choice that I've made
Yeah.
for my life.
If it's at around 40 degrees, I can usually run around in a t-shirt. But if it gets any lower than that, even I have to put a jacket on.
You guys, I woke up and it was negative 10
50
degrees today.
degrees. 50 degrees is when I put a jacket on. I'm very cold sensitive.
I am
Katie, you said
too.
it was negative 10.
Okay, yeah, guys, it was negative 10 degrees when I woke up this morning, and
my
right now
God.
it's like maybe 2 degrees, but it says feels
Oh
like
my
negative
gosh.
10.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Like, honestly. And like people like have like their pets like outside. Like I saw a cat roaming around, and I'm like, no.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. But yeah, and then we get like Captain Andrews making a plan, and like Judd and Mateo like come back with their own like risky plan and stuff. And I kind of love like what Captain Andrews says to them, and he's like, why do I have a feeling that even if I say no, you two are going to grab those jackhammers anyways? And Judd's just like, because you're an excellent observer of your fellow man, sir, that's how come. And he's just like, okay, like he can't even get it. Like they basically just want to
Yeah. I love
jackhammer
that.
the Delta wall, and I'm just like, I really do like Captain Andrews. Like I
I
really
do. He's just like, I'm not gonna win on this, so I'm just gonna go with the flow.
Oh,
Like, if you
100%.
can't beat him, join him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we get to TK, and even before that, Nancy and Tommy are like walking to find him, and Nancy's like, why the hell would he run off like that? And then they find his clothes. And stuff.
Yeah. I think
And
at
it's
one
just
point
like-
Nancy's like, are those his boxers? or
No, she
something
said,
like-
are those his drawers?
I was like, oh, that's so British.
Oh my
I
gosh.
love it.
And I like, so I've heard, because obviously I've taken like first aid classes, and Grace, I don't know if you heard this, but I know they've said, like, they've explained what hypothermia can do to a person when it gets severe. And like, you can get delirious and start like, all your blood rushes to the core part of your body, and so you like get super hot. And that's what was going on with TK. Is like, he'd gotten so cold that like his body was thinking it was actually warm.
Yeah.
But I love Nancy's response.
Your
She's
body
like,
can be your own worst enemy.
it can
Just
be.
saying.
And then like when they do find him, he's completely buck naked. and he's like, they try to give him blankets, and he's like, I'm good. And Nancy's like, said the guy getting frostbite on his ass. I love that line. It was so funny, but it's so Nancy.
It is. And like, they try to go near him, and he's just like, no, like, oh my god. And like, he like tells them to get away, and how he's burning up and laying on the ice makes him feel better. And it's just like, okay, yeah, this is not good. And like Tommy had said, that like combativeness is a symptom of severe hypothermia, so we already know this isn't good.
Right.
And he starts reciting this prayer in Hebrew and stuff, and I just find this whole scene like kind of funny, mostly because of the fans, because people kept asking Ronan like over and over, like, oh, did you like improvise then? And Ronan's just like, no. And I'm just like thinking, guys, like, any true fan would know that his Hebrew isn't good. His Russian is great, but his Hebrew is like, he doesn't really number it, so he wouldn't be able to improvise this.
Yeah, but it was really cool to have that in there though, because it's the mourner's kiddush, which I know it's more often said for those who have died, but it's been said that some people who have passed away or are like on their last breath, like they will utter those words. So just like, it was kind of eerie to have him say it, just because like his body, like subconscious, was thinking this was the end. So he's like muttering these words, and then like, but it also like makes me think like, oh, like how much more Jewish is TK? Because we know Gwen is. So
I want them to expand on that so badly.
Me too. Me too.
Because it's on his mother's side, I like, obviously it's gonna feel stronger, since like you kind of like inherit that in some sense from your mother, like, and stuff. But like, I think that's all it's gonna be. But I would love to know just even more the background, even if it is like that, because I feel like it is in some sense and stuff. But my favorite part after like all this and stuff is like them telling like TK, oh, we're gonna have you walk out, or we're gonna have to drag your ass out, which is kind of like what Nancy says. And like, then she's just like, when were you gonna tell us you speak Hebrew? And TK's just like, I don't, not since I was 10 in Hebrew school. And Tommy's like, well, looks like some of it stuck. And we couldn't end there. TK had a collapse. He had to have no pulse. And then they had to give him CPR and shock him. And I'm like, okay, this is not good.
No, it's not.
No, like, I'm not even like obviously we know in the end he's going to be okay, but like, I'm not letting myself go there, because
it's hard to see TK in this situation though.
Like, boy has been hurt too much. He's becoming a buck, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Period.
Yeah, so monster writers of people, this will be the last time you heard our boy. Thank you very much. This is a threat.
You gotta have a punching bag. Go find Carlos. It's his time to get hurt. Just saying.
Well, and I know Tim Lanier has said that like this was not done lightly. Like they had to do it. They were doing it for a reason, but like still, like TK's been through a lot. Like, could you have at least given him a season to like not be injured?
Yeah, but I think like after the last time Buck was hurt, I think they did give him a little bit where he wasn't like technically hurt.
It was like Eddie's season, and that was one of my favorite points. Just saying.
I just want
to say, like, it's not that I want anyone to get hurt necessarily, but I want like the angst and the focus that gets put on the characters that get hurt to sometimes not always be on one character.
That's what I mean, because like that's exactly what I mean. Like, he's becoming like the character in Lone Star, and just in a show in general that gets hurt all the time, and it's just like, okay, we get it. Kind of like, we let somebody else like get,
which I think there usually exactly. I think there usually is a show punching bag, but that doesn't mean we like it. And even punching bags sometimes need a rest. So
didn't Ronan tease us here not long ago with him wrapped up in bubble wrap the other day or something like
It was
that?
literally like the other day, yeah. I don't
I
even
was like-
know how that was that like I don't even know. Like I try not to question like things Ronan says or things Ronan does. Cause
to
like
be honest, I thought that was an photoshopped thing.
I did
Photo-
too.
That is
I'm
I
pretty
did
sure
too.
it was. It
Like
had
somebody
to be.
wrapped up in bubble wrap and somebody photoshopped his face on it. I mean, it's not wrong. Like
I think so.
you need
It
to wrap
definitely
was
TK up in bubble
photoshopped.
wrap. But yeah,
It's funny because
so
I
funny.
had joked about that like before that was put out there. I just have to say that.
Oh yeah.
I think we all have at some point, and it's
Right,
mentioned in
right.
about every other fan fiction. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. So this has to be like one of the best like scenes between Paul and Lindsay. It was really good for the episode, like I said.
Mhm.
But like Lindsay starts to fade, and Paul tells her how she can't sleep. You fall asleep, you die. And Paul makes her like tell him something that pisses her off and to stay awake. And she's just like, oh, I don't have anything. And Paul's just like, yeah, bullshit. Like, come on. Like, obviously he doesn't say that, but like that's basically the demeanor and
Mhm.
stuff. And like Judd had said like that they were gonna jackhammer, so it was gonna get a little bumpy in there and stuff. And so like she kind of tells them that like she doesn't like being ignored and like how people make her feel invisible. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely felt like that at that age.
And she
That-
definitely like she definitely did a good job like portraying like the awkwardness of, you know, what 16, 17-year-old girl. Like,
uh-huh.
yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. And stuff.
and she seemed very shy even in the first episode.
Oh yeah,
Oh
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, because she like I think at that one point, like when she was talking to like the people Carlos brought there, like she was talking, they're like, can't hear you, speak up. That's like that was definitely portrayed perfectly.
The major said that, I think.
Yeah, they're so like, yeah, that's mood. And like Paul's just like I feel like Paul's just like a little excited they're gonna get out of there. I mean, understandably so. You've been like basically stuck in this building and you're cold and yeah. And then of course, like Paul starts to kind of fall asleep himself, and like Lindsay doesn't know what to do, too, because she doesn't want to like she's not like authoritative enough to like yell or be like, "Come on, wake up!" So she like radios, and like Chad and Mateo are just like, oh, what's happening? Like, what's going on in there? And she's like saying how like he's falling asleep or something, and they're like, you have to keep him alive, and they'll be there soon. And so she like she like she tries to gently wake him up, and it's like not working. So she like yells in his face. I was like, Paul! It was so funny to see him react too, because he's just like, what the hell? And stuff. And she's like, oh, what pisses you off? And he's like, well, besides someone yelling in my ear. And she's like, yeah, besides that, what else? And I loved this, probably my favorite poem
Yes,
of
me
this
too.
when he's just like, what pisses me off? Well, what pisses me off? You want to know what pisses me off? Them closing my firehouse, the 126, over some BS. She's like, what BS? And he's like, budget cuts. All right, we good? It's just like, no, we're not all good, Paul. Why do you love it so much? The 126. No, she's like, come on, why do you love it? Because he keeps falling asleep. And he's like, the people. And she's like, the people. Do the people have names? Paul, tell me about the people. And Paul is just like, Marjan, she's my ride or die.
I love her.
Which is like confirmation that like the fandom like knew that Paul and Marjan were like the besties.
Oh yeah. And he's just like,
Oh yeah.
and I love him talking about Judd because he's just like Judd. He's a big old redneck, but he's all heart. And I'm like, that describes him to a T.
Yes, it is.
Oh, definitely.
And he's just
He's like such a tough guy that like watches Frozen. I'm never gonna this FYI.
yeah, he's like a big teddy bear.
Oh yes.
Like he might
We
scare
love
you at first, but like then you get to know him and you're like, okay, he's just like a big old teddy bear. Like he could actually hurt nobody.
Right.
Yeah. Unless that person is trying to hurt someone he loves, then watch out. which I actually feel like he and I are
Understandable.
kind of like
Me
similar
too.
in that just like wouldn't hurt to fly, except you hurt someone I love. Nope, I'm out.
Yeah, that's relatable. And then like he's just like Mateo, you know Mateo. And it's like, oh yeah, like okay. And then like she asks about his captain, and he's like, just like Captain Strand, he's the reason I came down here. Miss that dude.
Uh-huh.
All this. It's also like funny to hear him explain everyone. I kind of wanted him to go through the whole list, but of course we didn't get that, so that's okay. But I just loved like the first two specifically and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
like Marjan and Judd and stuff. And then like get them out there, and I love when they finally like got them, and Paul's just like, what took you all so long? And Judd's like, everyone's a damn critic. Mood.
I love it.
Yeah, and then like Judd's like to Paul, like when they get them out there, he's like, you're a little underdressed for the weather, ain't you? And Mateo's like, even if you are from Chicago, and Judd puts his coat on Paul, and I'm like, oh,
That
Oh.
was all the family bonding feels like
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it makes me feel. And Paul's like, I'm really starting to hate the cold weather, brother. And I'm like, hey, me too. And
But we don't really see, like in season 1 and 2, we did not really see Paul and Judd act like together that much. Like,
Mm-mm.
and so this
No, we
was really cool to see the bond that they've grown. And I think a lot of it came from them being kind of pushed into the 122 with Marjan just, so suddenly, and kind of keeping that core group together. But still, I was like, I really like seeing that relationship with them.
Agreed. And like
that's it.
Judd's just like, hey, me too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Relatable.
love that scene. Love it.
Yeah. There's so many scenes in this episode where I'm like, I love it. Oh my
Yeah.
god. But then we get to Grace at the call center, and she gets her own surprise of her own. Judd shows up there and to see her and thank her and like bring her some things, and he like mentions how like they were gonna go to the hospital and see Paul, and he just had like the other guys like waiting in the truck, and Grace is just like, you came down here in a fire truck, and it's like, well, yeah, and just like, yeah, after we swim by the only open grocery store, and Grace is being like looking down, being like, you're making a mess of like all the snow.
Yeah. Snow
He
all over
goes
the
to
ground.
clean it up, and she's like, somebody's gonna slip. I'm like, mood. That's like such a mom mood, don't you think?
Oh yes.
And then Grace is like, what did you bring me besides snow? Also,
Besides snow.
so like he shows her what he got her and stuff, and it's so cute. But even before that, it's cute how like she's like, you didn't leave the whole crew sitting out there, did she? Did you? And she's like, they got the heat on, like they fine. Like that's such a man mood.
That was like,
Yes.
but how many people are like, oh well, I left the air conditioning on for the kids. Like how many
It's
times
true
do people
though.
like, I don't mean to laugh, but it's like, it's so funny because it comes up and it's such a true like statement. Well, I got the heat on, they're fine.
Yeah, exactly. And then like I love like him being like, I just can bear the thought of you here drinking some sad chamomile tea. So he got her English breakfast tea and stuff, and then like he got her some other stuff because she's just like, Judd, you drove the fire truck across town to bring me English breakfast tea. And he's like, yeah, I got you them ginger chews you like when your tummy gets upset, and I got you some cough drops just in case.
I'm just like, Judd, you are
Can I get a
precious.
husband like Judd?
See?
Right?
Me, because this is my whole thing. I was just like, okay, if I don't find a man like that, I don't want it.
Yes.
That's exactly what I mean, and I'm totally 100%, 1000% serious. And then like
Oh
Judd,
yes.
Judd like leaves, and Grace is the only person, I don't care, like the only person to ask about Marjan, and I'm like, of course.
And
Just,
this is like the point where he's like, oh right, she does exist, doesn't she?
yeah,
Yeah.
Judd's just like, no, not a peep. But I mean, knowing her, she's probably dragging him back down the hill talking about the blizzard be damned. It's gonna be a tough one, everybody. Let's get it. And then he's just like, Bree, you take care
He's
of
all
her.
like, he's like calling the troops up. It was so
It was so funny. Like I rewatched the scene at least 5 or 6 times
Oh, I
because of
love
how
that scene.
he's such a mood. Like, oh my god. And then Grace is just like, oh my god, that is your father. Your father.
Yeah. I love it.
The
She's talking
baby.
to her stomach. I loved it.
Yeah.
That's your daddy.
So
Kind of like
true.
I did marry him, didn't I?
Yeah,
Kind of
you
mood.
know she was thinking that too. And of course, Marjan mentioned you gotta show Marjan. This is when I think I was like, oh yeah, Marjan, where is that girl? Oh
Yeah.
boy.
I think I had that moment mostly when Paul mentioned her.
Yeah, I think that's when it came up the first time, and I was like, oh yeah, we haven't seen her, have we? Oops,
Nice.
sorry, girl. But she wakes up on her steering wheel and she kind of looks around the car and like she kind of gets the door open after like forcing it open. And of course, we know there's no reception or anything. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting.
Mhm.
Indeed.
Like, I honestly am started to think that I don't think this whole like her like and how she's gonna like get back to like, civilization or whatever. I don't think it's gonna be a big thing. Like I honestly think this might be underplayed. Like I don't think it's gonna be a
Or
huge
or
deal.
they're saving it for like one particular part in an episode where it's like going to be a slightly more big thing, but like
I'm pretty sure she's in the next episode, like with the rest of everybody. So somehow she gets out. So hopefully
Yeah,
we do find out.
that's why I'm starting to think that it might be like not be a huge deal. They might not make it's definitely gonna be part of an episode, but it's not gonna be made into like a huge thing. Like I don't really think they're gonna make I don't think they're gonna want to save somebody else because we already saved Paul. We have to
Right.
save TK. He's like in this whole
Her
thing.
situation is not as tragic as the other
Exactly.
two
Yeah,
situations.
exactly. Like I feel like she's just gonna like find her way or whatever. I have no idea. Well, I guess we'll see.
Or she runs across Owen and Sadie or something, and
Well, it'd be Owen and then this lady we meet at the end of the episode.
yeah.
But yeah.
Speaking of Owen,
Yeah, speaking of Owen, so he goes looking for this dude, and I'm just like, this is not a good idea. First of all, it's a whiteout. Does he know
Right.
what he's doing? Yes, thankfully he does. But even
he is
so,
also from New York. TK
That's
does not
what I
have
mean.
it cornered there. But it's still like, Owen, you're from New York. You of anyone should know that this is not the brightest idea.
yeah,
Right.
it's like people here like don't go out most of the time. Don't go out and whiteouts because it's not a good idea.
Right.
You
Because
know
you
what's
can't
unsafe?
see right. I mean, you can barely see right in front of your face, so you can't see like even walking. You don't know where you're walking, what you're gonna step on.
Oh yeah, and like
Step
okay,
into.
if he's
Yeah.
going to go out in a whiteout, at least don't be by yourself.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
the brightest idea, but whatever. And of course, it wasn't bright because he falls, and yeah, that's that for at least now.
Right.
So back to the hospital. We're finally at the hospital with TK. It almost is like going back to the hospital because, like, how many times have we been here for him? At
Yeah.
least two.
They
At least
I think
3.
Yeah, I
They
think
have
they
been
need to like
shown.
have a hospital room that's dedicated to the members of the 126 at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point.
Like they have one dedicated to the 118. Yep.
Pretty much.
Oh my god, that's so true. That's why it's funny. It's so true. Oh my god.
I
Like,
speak nothing but truth.
oh, you do 100%. But yeah, they do need to have like a 126 like wing.
Yeah, really.
Like, let's make that happen. But Carlos shows up because of Nancy, which we love that. That's really the ringleader of the whole Tarlos fan club there.
She's the queen of the fan club.
Ooh, yes, I love that.
Queen
100
or president. I don't know.
I like Queen. I don't know. It just
Queen.
sounds so like nice. And like so like Nancy's saying like how, oh, thanks for coming, like TK will appreciate it and stuff. And I love Carlos's response. I think it's kind of funny, and it's honestly one of my other favorite lines in the episode. He's like, typical TK, first time he wants to talk to me in months. And of course it's because he's in the ICU.
Next to you.
Oh my goodness, baby, who hurt you?
Yeah, and then Nancy's like, about that.
About that.
TK didn't actually ask me to radio you. He's like, but you said he wanted me here. She's like, yeah, I did say that, didn't I?
Well, that was a
I
lot.
love how she's like, okay, how do I explain myself out? of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, like we can't have like a full scene with them just talking about this whole situation. The mom has to come up and thank Nancy for saving him, and she's just like, well, it wasn't me, it was my friend TK and stuff. And like the mom
Because
says,
the mom was calling them a hero, and
yeah, and it's just like, and you can tell in this scene, like when the mom comes up and she's talking about like her boy, that like Carlos is like kind of piecing it together in his head, and he's kind of getting to the freak out stage.
Yeah.
And stuff, and the mom's just like, oh, we're praying for your friend and that kind of stuff, and then she walks off. And then like this is when Carlos is like asking like, how serious is it? And Nancy's just like, it's not good, and saying how like Tommy's going in there right now to find out more. And then Tommy comes out of the room and kind of makes eye contact with Carlos is kind of looking freaked out, understandably so. And Tommy's just like, we need to find his father. And
that's it we get from that episode for this scene. And it's like, I'm really glad Carlos is there.
Yeah.
But like, and
Raphael
honestly, does so well in this stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm not really mad or like upset that this is all we got. I honestly kind of like that this is all we got, because like, I don't know, like even though it's gonna feel painful, since like obviously episode 3 where we have a break in between 2 and 3, so it's gonna be a harder like break and stuff with this being held over. But I'm honestly, even with that, I'm not even mad about it, just because I kind of like they're gonna expand on it more in the next episode and stuff, and that we're gonna get more of it, and we already know we're gonna get more of it. So like, I'm not, it's not too big of a deal. Like, yeah, would I want more? Sure, but I like, honestly, I'm glad that it's going to be longer than just adding more.
Right.
So they don't overdo it, and so we get like everything in sort of a sense. Like, yeah, I would want more like Tarlos wise, but like I don't really think the things we imagine we're gonna get, just being that they're not like together right now.
And we might eventually, but yeah, I think for me it was just like it was a shock, but like it was a good suspense. Like it's leaving you in suspense. You want to come back to the next episode.
Exactly.
So it was a good way to end that scene. Because if they'd expanded it much more, we might not get good ratings next episode because people's already got what they wanted, or so.
Well, yeah, so far I'm very impressed with how they are dividing the episodes. I was worried it's going to be way too drawn out with 4, and we still have the second half to analyze, but they're pacing themselves. They're pacing out the scenes, and so it's like, okay, we still have all these storylines to resolve, but we have 2 episodes to do it in, and that feels more manageable than like if they were trying to do it in just one more.
Right.
So
yeah, and they're also like, like they're pacing it well. Like I feel like they're building up what we're about to get, and then in 3 and 4, that everything is gonna come to a climax and stuff. And it's just like it's very organized, and I was very like, the first episode very good. This episode even better. I think it's just gonna be one of those things where each episode gets better, and I'm just very like impressed with the whole thing. But then Owen wakes up and he's in a barn, and like all these people are in there, and who we find out are immigrants and stuff that were like, I think weren't they like getting deported or something?
Were they getting sneaked across?
I can't remember.
I think it was one of it. I think they were being brought over or moved to a different location or something.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
And then one guy stands up.
Legal.
Right, and one guy stands up and starts yelling in Spanish about not to answer any of Owen's questions because he could be from immigration.
Yeah,
Immigración.
And Owen's just like, oh, like he thinks I'm police, and he's like, I'm not the cops. Like I don't care, like and stuff. And you can gather like why he's angry and how Owen knows that. It's because of his anger and like and stuff. It's pretty easy to like piece together.
Yeah.
Also, with like his recent conversation with Sadie, he can probably just kind of like go, I think I see what's happening here.
Yeah, because Sadie explained to him about that.
Yeah, and like So Owen wants to find the guy that he saved. And of course, so this guy, he shows up with a gun yelling, and Owen figures out that he saved the wrong guy because this woman he met, Elena, that's there, like he kind of was talking to her and thanking her for saving him and like telling her that they can't stay there because it's cold, and like she kind of mentioned the coyote as well and how they're running from him, and then he realizes at the end when this guy comes in with a gun that he saved the coyote.
Yeah.
Well,
Oops.
see, at first he thought he had saved a member of their group because the coyote had turned on them and they got in the way, but several hadn't. Several were injured as well. And so he's like, oh, I think I found one of your guys. And then he comes in and he realizes, no, that was the coyote.
Which is why I referenced Night Shift when Katie and I were talking about that last week when we were talking about it after we watched it.
Yeah, it's so many things, and I'm just like, I think I kind of was like, well, at least nobody's like drawing their blood. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. And they don't have to like do a person-to-person blood transfer. Oh wait, they already did that in season 1. Never mind.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Or hold somebody's tongue with a fishing hook and a
I forgot about that. That just makes me want to go watch the episode.
I know. I need to watch Night Shift again. I should. I message Brendan and be like, dude, I'm gonna watch Night Shift again. Any pointers?
Yeah, honestly. Okay, so like final
I have
thoughts.
absolutely no idea what you guys are talking about.
I know.
That's so funny.
Hiatus. We are going to sit you down and we're gonna watch all the episodes.
Yes. And it's yeah. So the Night Shift is a really awesome series. So you need to watch it. We need to watch it with you. So.
Exactly. Okay.
But so when Owen's like guy comes in with the gun, and Owen kind of realizes it's like, oh crap, and that's the end of the episode. So like we've got, so Paul's been rescued. So then we have Owen in kind of danger. TK's in danger. So the whole both strands are strung out to dry.
And we have Marjan in an unresolved situation.
Is unresolved. So they're leaving a lot of stuff open.
Yeah.
But
honestly, this was the episode I think Ronan said there was a cliffhanger or whatever that was like, oh my god, but like honestly I don't feel like oh my god about any of this.
Yeah, no,
I know TK will be okay, like yeah, he's gonna go through something next episode, or maybe I'll feel something next episode, but as of right now I'm like kind of nonchalant, like I'm not like really acting like oh my god. I don't know.
It's not like, oh my god, he's gonna die. No.
Okay, it's not like, I'm gonna compare it to 911 for a second, but it's not like when the episode when Eddie got shot and then they left us for a week and we were all kind of like freaking out for a few days.
Yeah, like saying like if they kill him off, we're done. I remember that conversation.
Oh, it was yesterday, right?
Oh, I mean, dead serious too. Like
we were.
Anyway.
So final thoughts. I feel like there's so much to say, but I think this episode was like I said, even better than the last. I loved the Paul focus on the episode and TK, especially Paul, because it's like we don't always get that. And I actually like loved all Paul stuff, especially with like Lindsay intertwined. I think their scenes together are really good, and I liked seeing that dynamic. And the build up was very good. It's like obviously this is like kind of the middle of like these and stuff, so like they're trying to build it up, and I think it was very good. And I'm excited for the last 2 episodes to see what they do, and I'm especially excited for the next episode because we're gonna get lots of TK. We're also gonna find out about TK and his mom. Gwen's gonna be back for I believe 3 and 4. So far, at least I think. And I'm just excited to like see what they do with TK and Carlos with this, because we know Carlos is at the hospital, which we'll get to when we get to the promo. And yeah, I'm just excited about all of that.
Yeah, it was definitely a good episode. I know Ronan had mentioned in their live that him and Brian and Jules did that they got so much content, so like I can kind of see like they're not drawing it out to where it's like so drawn out. So I think they're really doing well to build stuff up and then expanding it into a 4th episode with 3 and 4 kind of being expanded into 2 episodes instead of just 1 was a really good call on their part. So they can give life to each story.
Exactly.
No, I'm very impressed by everything. And I'm really looking forward to in 2 weeks. I'm not looking forward to the break.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I haven't really thought about the break much, to be honest. Like, I know we're getting one, but I haven't really put much thought to it, so I haven't had time to be like, oh yeah, we are getting a break.
Right. Well,
Uh,
it's weird that it just happens such an early time in the season. Like usually they have the first few episodes and or maybe 5 or 6 episodes before there's usually a break. But so we're getting it in the middle of their, kind of premiere.
yeah, it is a weird timing, but whatever.
Like we'll still be here, but
Yep.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
100%.
We have plenty
odd.
to talk about.
Oh yeah, we always do. So we actually got quite a few fan thoughts, which I'm super excited about.
Yay.
To talk about.
Thanks for chiming in, everybody.
So, somebody said, sad wishing TK wouldn't fall through the ice. Yeah, I mean, I actually like that happens. Like, did I want it to happen? No, but like, if it was going to happen, I liked it because it's good drama. It's like interesting like situation because I feel like I haven't really seen too much of this, at least recently with shows. And I don't know, it's fine. I don't know.
like yeah, we all wish he wouldn't get hurt again, but like as Katie said, it's good drama.
Right.
So
And then somebody said Paul helping Lindsay, the teen volunteer, while they're stuck. His anger about the closing of the 126, calling Marjan his ride or die. Yes, this is all the content that I had been like wanting, and I actually love the 126 comment, like because I feel like Marjana is the only one at this point that is still like kind of rooting and trying to get the 126 back and like trying to have it not like demolished. And
Right.
I feel like this is like his way to like be like, this is happening, like what the heck, like, and stuff. And I feel like it's him finally getting out. He might have repressed that and not let himself be sad about it. Who knows?
Yeah.
And it's like it's good stuff. And like we all know him and Marjan are close. And I feel like we always knew that, but like I feel like the show didn't always display that really.
Yeah.
But it's just cool for it to be like spoken into words. And then
Yeah.
the same person also said, I'm stressed about TK next week, which really isn't 2 weeks, but whatever. He's gonna survive, but what kind of complications is he going to face? Shout out to Nancy Grady and Carlos. Also, Carlos showing up in the middle of the shift shows how much he cares about TK. 100%.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of side effects, negative side effects that can happen from being hypothermic and that severely hypothermic. So.
okay, I'm just gonna say, you guys might know what I'm gonna say, but if he has side effects and that kid doesn't, I am really going to blow my stack just because the logical.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so illogical. He was in far less time. He was in far less time. He was cold for.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of, and because we didn't see like TK being treated by Nancy and Tommy other than like doing CPR on it, the only thing I can think of is that maybe it takes longer for him to come up to like a normal temperature, and so then he might have some like heart issues or something. I don't foresee him having physical effects lingering for too long, but I definitely think there's going to be some mental, like some PTSD or some mental kind of strain for a while, mental and emotional.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to even see if we get follow up with this kid. We don't know. This could be it.
Right.
I really hope it's not because I would like to know more, but we'll kind of see on that. Somebody else said, I really liked episode 2. I was confused for a solid moment, but was reassured. Loved Paul and Lindsay's scenes together. Carlos did so good as usual. The way his demeanor changed when he found out TK wasn't okay was everything. It also hurt, and like definitely, especially hurt because like seeing Carlos's face and seeing him looking at TK, that was painful.
So hurt. Yeah.
Somebody said heartbreaking. Why can't Carlos be together? That's like a total mood. But at this point, I keep saying this whenever I post about anything Lone Star related and Carlos comes up. I keep saying like trust the process. Like that's just something I keep saying over and over. I'm like, we just gotta trust the process. We know they're gonna get back together, and like there are things that have been said that makes me 100%, even more than that, like point to that. And yeah, it'll happen. Like, yes, it kind of hurts right now, but I think we'll get good scenes out of it too. Even now,
just remember that the show would not have risked sinking their entire show unless they really had it planned out. Which that would happen if like they really handled Carlos thing badly. So just again, trust the process. It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Even if it is frustrating and we don't want the extra drama, they'll get back together.
Or need it.
You know, they will get back together. They will get back together. Fine. Like, period.
Oh, that's a statement.
They'll get back together.
That's not an opinion. That's a statement. It will be happening. It's just a matter about when.
Yes.
Okay, and then of course my favorite is like TJ. Of course, love you, TJ.
We love hearing your comments.
Exactly, like because him and I had talked about the episode Monday night and stuff, and then like yesterday I messaged him and be like, okay, so like, what's your final review of like the second episode? He's like, oh, where do I begin? And I'm just like, oh, that was
so us.
And he's just like, well, everything with Paul and Judd and stuff to TK ending up in the hospital, it was just amazing. Just reminds me why I fell in love with this show over and over again. And I was just like, I love you just being like, oh, where do I begin? Like, that's a total mood. And then he had added that my favorite scene besides Carlos and Nancy was Lindsay. I think that was her name. Yeah, that was her name. Yep. Keeping Paul awake as much as she could. And I'm like, I love that. And then I think originally when we had been talking, like he was like, yeah, like these episodes so far are proving that they're like kicking 911's ass with their emergency of the season. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, it's true.
It's 100%
pure stated fact.
Because I was kind of like, how could episode 1 or 2 get better than 1? And it did. Like, it's just getting even more intense, even more better every episode, which makes me even more excited.
Right.
So the promo, I love the promo.
Yeah, it's a good promo.
So we have like the doctor saying how TK's heart rate is too slow, and Carlos is like asking if he's okay. And like by his clothes, we know he's off duty because not wearing his uniform. Right. So like he came back, yay.
Yay.
I mean, I didn't think he wouldn't because like obviously he cares and he's not gonna just like not come to the hospital because they're like going through a break or they're just not in a good place. Like that's just not Carlos in general.
Yeah, Carlos would not do that. He'd be there.
Carlos is just so dependable that like, you know, he's gonna be there. And then like Owen's helping these people and like Elena mentions like, why are you helping us? And Owen's just like, you help me first and stuff. And then my favorite part of this promo is Grace telling Billy to get out of her house, and Billy is just like saying, oh, your water just broke, we need to get you to the hospital. And so they start driving, they get stuck, and like Grace is just like, oh no, like it's not drivable, like they're literally stuck. Like she keeps like hitting the gas and her wheels just keep spinning because they're stuck. And then like Judd's like on the radio, I believe it was, and he's like saying she's stuck out there in this, and Grace is just like hitting her steering wheel, and I'm just like, oh mood. And she's just like saying like, please protect my child, God. So, like that was my favorite part of the promo.
So I just had a thought.
Oh, I did too.
I had a couple.
I always have a thought.
Oh man, I don't think Judd's saying that about Grace yet.
Oh yeah. See, I connected to that because he's a chief, but yeah, it could totally be somebody else. Maybe he's talking about Marjan.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I think Owen was able to connect to the radios that the guys are carrying with the ham radio that he's got. And I think he connects and they're like, where's Marjan? And when Owen reaches out to them, and then he's like, well, she left here a long time ago. And Judd's like, well, she hasn't come back to town yet. And then I think Judd says, she's stuck out there in this then, or something like that. So I think that's that. I think the reason why Grace says that about please protect my child, I think Billy goes for help. And I also think that Judd may have called Billy to go check on Grace because she might have called him and said she was having contractions at home.
That's feasible. So actually another theory I have, so this whole Grace stuff, I think that these scenes could possibly be stuff we're gonna get towards the end of episode 3, because we know episode 4, one of the synopsises is that Grace is in labor in episode 4, so I think she'll have the baby in 4. So I think all this Billy stuff and her like driving, I think that is going to be at the end of the episode, because they're gonna want to like prolong it as much as possible.
Right.
So it's
That'll
either
be their cliffhanger.
yeah, that's gonna be their cliffhanger. So, and we already know like this episode's gonna focus on like a TK. They'll probably throw Marjan in there a bit to know where she's at, and like the Owen stuff. Like they'll put like the Gray stuff towards the middle to end, so we get to see it, but they'll leave that as a cliffhanger. That's my major theory.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because they're gonna like draw out like her being stuck out and that being, in the snow.
Yeah, which I'm so excited. Like for
Sierra
that.
McLean is awesome. Sierra's awesome.
I love Grace. Like she's my favorite.
Aww. Sorry.
I
had to.
Both of them.
Gee, thanks,
No,
Katie.
Both of them. Hey, listen. Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna be like both of them.
I was just saying here going, don't say it. Don't say I'm gonna say it.
I would take that move too, so I totally support it.
I was just thinking if TK had been a girl, he could be KT.
KT. Oh boy.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, yeah, we love Grace.
Yeah, honestly. And so there was this TV Guide article that came out with Timmy here, and there's so many things in that gave so much about like what's gonna happen that I want to talk about and stuff. So the first thing that was brought up is like GK's in the serious condition. What can you say about that and how that's gonna affect him and those closest to him, especially Owen and Carlos. And Tim had said it's going to affect them a lot. I know that I've seen a bit online. I get this on 912 with enduring Buck constantly, and the decision for this to happen with TK was not taken lightly. It's not that I want to hurt a character just to have some story for about an hour or two. The idea was to not give it short shrift. It's funny, I like in season 1 when TK was shot, that kind of was something that I did because we were so far behind. I needed something to happen, but it really was some short shrift. He was in the hospital then, and the next episode he woke up and he was fine. One thing I'm trying to do this year is to let the stories breathe a little bit and not just rush through them. So what we'll find is we're just spending time on these things that happen. We're trying not to lose what the ramifications might be when something serious happens. So TK is going to go through a lot to try to survive. We're gonna sort of go into his head a little bit, and he's going to learn something about himself, and it's gonna absolutely affect everybody around him. Tommy is his captain, Owen's his father, Carlos's love of his life. Okay, might I repeat? Carlos is the love of his life.
Love of his life.
This is the one thing where I like found this and I underlined that.
Yes.
Everyone else are his family members to TK, so TK becomes sort of a rallying point for all the characters, and it kind of slaps Owen out of his complacency, which is not really a complacency so much as a fear. And that's 100% true. Like I think episode 3 will be when we see Owen kind of come home.
Yeah. Because there's been some pictures surfacing of him like, falling down on the ground with Tommy right there crying or upset, which, I think Tommy goes to end up telling Owen about what happened to TK. And
yeah,
I think he kind of knocks him out of his complacency and makes him realize, life.
Yeah.
You can't
and
keep
like
running from things.
Owen's not a bad father. That's the main point I want to make.
He's not.
So like the second he finds out about TK, he's gonna want to go home. He's not gonna want to stay there. Like this is his son, his only child. He's gonna go home to his boy. We know, and we've seen like the picture of like TK in the hospital and like Owen being there.
Such a good photo.
Yeah, it is.
It's gonna be tough, but it's a really good photo and it's a
Yeah.
really good. I know it's gonna be a good scene. And like, I love how he said like we're gonna get into TK's head a little bit, which even more confirms that some of the Gwen stuff we're gonna get is actually gonna be either in memories or thoughts or dreams or kind of while he's in his coma.
Yeah, I think it could be so many things. Like it could just be like a dream sequence, which I think we're gonna get lots of those. It could be a flash. It could be like a flashback, and he's just going through it in his head.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. But I am very excited for like all of that. And then the next one was about Paul. Says it seems Paul is fine, but how is this experience going to affect him? Is he going to get back in the fight for the 126 after he was talking about being pissed about what pissed him off? And it says, that will affect Paul in ways and will not immediately be noticeable, but later down the line in episodes, we will discover that the after effects are maybe more serious than he had first anticipated. And like it's like, are those medical after effects? And Tim's like, yes.
Right. And I, with this
Oh.
question, and then even the mention of before, like TK becoming a rallying point for everybody, I think that's what brings them together, everybody together to kind of all start to fight for the 126, but it's not going to be an easy road.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I don't know exactly like what they're meaning with this Paul storyline. So I'm curious what,
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't believe it'd
intrigued.
be physical, you know, so it's probably some sort of mental,
Yeah.
emotional
Well, yeah,
PTSD-ish stuff.
because medical after effects could be anything. It doesn't have to just be like physically hurt.
Yeah.
It could just be like some form of like PTSD or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? But then Owen, it says Owen is once again in life or death situation. How how is he gonna handle it? It's just like Owen is in a life or death situation. Aren't the Strandmen always in a life or death situation?
Pretty much.
It's pretty much our yearly tradition.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, Tim says which life or death situation. That's like mood. He's in one every week. He's going to handle it the only way he knows how, which is not leave anybody behind and not to overcome adversity. And in some cases, evil. It's Marjan's prophet coming true, right? You cannot hide up in the mountains, which is kind of like my thought. Like she can't stay up there forever. The universe knows where you are, and it knows who you are.
And it will come find you.
Exactly.
Vaguely threatening.
Better.
And then he, confirmed that yes, Grace is going to go into labor during the snowstorm. So, spoiler warning if
No,
anybody didn't want
really?
to.
That's when he answered that question. And I was like, no, really? Because like, her water broke in episode 3. Bro. Let me just say that.
I've been
And-
saying it the entire time.
But the one thing I do like what he says is like, it's like, what can you preview about that? And he just like, it's like, the Grace will not have an epidural or be giving birth in the most comfortable of situations. Okay, this is Lone Star. I didn't really think it was gonna be like this smooth
I
sailing
think it'd be easy.
thing. And she's also giving birth during a snowstorm, so this means
I think she's going to give birth in a fire truck.
Oh, 100%. Okay. Have I seen this done before? Yes. Will I still love it? Absolutely. And it's
It's
just,
either going to be the fire truck or her car.
I'm
but
really
we
hoping
shall
for
see.
fire truck because that's like a middle ground. Like it's not like giving birth in a car, but it's also not like not giving a birth in a car, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
No.
Yeah. But it's like, is Judd going to be there? And it's just like Judd does not, oh yeah, Judd does not know she's missing for real. And of course, as soon as he finds out she is missing, he will move heaven and earth to find her, which is like a total mood. We know that man, we know what he's gonna do.
Oh yeah.
Of course, he loves her like crazy. He's not going to leave her out there.
No.
He'll do everything he can for her.
Exactly. And then something's mentioned like Tommy, Nancy, and TK, and how they're like in and how they're impressive at their jobs wherever they're working. And it's just like Tommy's team is Tommy's team, and it's Nancy and TK that is one element of the 126. The goal is for all these characters to get back to the 126, to have everybody under the same roof again. I thought it was very interesting element to show that the paramedics could work in a private sector. Obviously, all the other firefighters got assigned to the different houses at the end of the last season, and they're still in those houses when we come back. But at the end of the day, I think it's fair to say we'll probably all end up under the same roof again. Obviously, we're not going to say not the 126 forever.
Right.
Yeah.
And it had gotten asked if there's going to be a temporary replacement for TA, and it's like, no.
Which is good, which means eventually he'll
That show's
come
seeing
through.
out too long.
Well,
Yeah.
because I think adding a temporary replacement would be so unnecessary just for the fact that they don't really need a temporary replacement.
Yeah, well,
And it'd be adding another character that you don't need because like it would
Right.
only be temporary.
and I don't think Nancy wants to get her other foot rolled over by an ambulance either.
It was hard enough to find a good another good paramedic, so they don't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna be learning more about Nancy and stuff, which had been said. We'll be learning more about like all the characters and stuff, but like how great like the chemistry between TK and Nancy is, which you can definitely see between not even just in general, but like these past two episodes specifically. Yes, like I feel like last season they were getting to know each other, and now you can tell that they're like good friends, good colleagues, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, fighting a good fight.
Even when
together.
Nancy is bugging him about why he and Carlos broke up.
Oh, that's a total mood. Like, Nancy, can you find out for us and let us know? And let
Yeah,
us
I know.
first
Please.
Yeah.
Yes.
podcast
Yeah.
before anybody else. Thank you. I'm so excited, like, for these next two episodes.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Same.
awesome. It's a bummer that we have to wait a little bit longer, but I think we'll get through it, and we'll have an episode of something we'll come up with for next Monday, so we don't have a break.
Yeah. It'll be like worth the wait. Like, I'm excited,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be so good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and almost everywhere where podcasts can be found. On iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. It would mean a lot to us. You guys can follow us on our podcast socials, which are at 91LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also have a Discord server. It's been super fun talking to you guys on there, so you can join it. It's in our Instagram bio and also in the podcast description. And you guys can follow me, Katie, at FLoveTarlos on Instagram and at ForLoveTarlos on Twitter.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RonanRafa91 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
And you can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.